Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Ambassador, just let's go back to that conversation that the U.S. had with Africa last December, the U.S.-Africa Leadership Summit. The outcomes that came out of that prompted Janet Yellen's surgeon and also another U.S. senior official, Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, also expected to come through to a few African states in a few days. Just how this flows from the outcomes of that conversation.
Yes, well, as President Biden said at the African Leaders Summit, the United States is, quote, all in on Africa. We understand the great economic significance of the continent as well as the developmental challenges. We have been and want to continue to be strong partners with the continent as it takes this next phase of its history well into the middle of the 21st century. And accordingly, as you said, you will see a number of senior U.S. government officials coming to the continent this year to help follow up on that summit and strengthen those ties. And that's why, amongst other reasons, Secretary Janet Yellen is here in South Africa today.
As we said, just energy transition, a priority. Part of the Treasury Secretary's itinerary is going to Mpumalanga to inspect those coal-fired power stations in order to form her own opinion. President Cyril Ramaphosa 2 days ago, while addressing a party gathering, said there is no way South Africa can immediately switch off the coal-powered stations. How will this impact the conversations?
Well, the Just Energy Transition Partnership, I think that probably amongst the most important words in that phrase are energy and partnership. Obviously, everybody understands the profound energy crisis that South Africa finds itself in right now. That suggests that it is very important to find other ways to bring substantial energy onto the grid. We know the value of renewable energies to increase the ability to generate electrical power. South Africa has enormous potential in both wind and solar. And crucially, there is international financial support available for South Africa to add green energy to its grid. There is not, so far as I know, international financial support to add additional coal-fired power plants to the grid. So as South Africa decides to continue to upgrade its coal-fired plants, we also very much hope that we can partner with the government of South Africa to add more renewable energy and then obviously in time move to the issue of transition.
So her visit comes just as the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has just left South Africa. The U.S. stance on the Russian-Ukraine conflict has been well articulated. And last week, the Defense Ministry announcing that the Chinese and Russian military drills will form part of the Armed Forces Day celebration in February in South Africa. The U.S. clearly not pleased about this.
Well, as we've said, and as most of the world acknowledges, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is illegal and unjust. And this is a very simple proposition. The war can end today if Russian forces withdraw today. And in fact, there is absolutely no justification for Russian forces to illegally occupy any other portion of any other sovereign state. So we have continued to make that message clear as the government of the United States. We continue to articulate that with the government of South Africa, and we will continue to stand by the people of Ukraine until their sovereignty is fully restored, until they are fully free.
This year, South Africa is chairing the BRICS group of nations. The year translates into deeper emphasis on countries such as Russia and China. Does it concern the U.S. that your own efforts at diplomacy could take a back seat this year?
South Africa is a sovereign government and is free to associate with other sovereign governments as it chooses. We believe, as the United States, that we are very strong partners to South Africa. We have demonstrated that repeatedly, both with the billions of dollars of PEPFAR assistance that have saved the lives of at least 25 million South Africans from the worst ravages of the pandemic. There are over 600 U.S. companies operating here in South Africa, employing over 220,000 people, generating revenue roughly the equivalent of 10% of the country's entire GDP. South Africa and the United States enjoy a $21 billion worth of trade, $15 billion of which is cruise to South Africa through AGOA. And so we are confident that we are very strong partners with the people and the government of South Africa, and that we will continue to do so.
Also, just looking at her possible or her scheduled conversation with the South African finance minister, this visit comes at a time when there are analysts are mooting that there could be an interest rate hike introduced tomorrow by the South African Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago. How is the U.S. interacting with this conversation, especially because the U.S. itself has got inflation challenges at the moment?
Well, we know that inflation is a global challenge, mostly because of the results of the pandemic, but also because, frankly, of the war in Ukraine and what that's done to food prices and fuel prices globally. And so, obviously, reserve banks are politically independent. We very much recognize and support the political independence of the Reserve Bank of South Africa, so I certainly wouldn't want to interfere or discuss in any way any political considerations with regard to a rate hike they may be considering. Nor would I want to prejudge the conversations that Secretary Yellen will have with the finance minister. But what we can say is the United States remains very strong partners with the government of South Africa on a range of issues, to include trade, financial issues, and I'm sure those conversations will be very productive.
Reuben E Brigety, the second U.S. ambassador to South Africa. Thank you so much for your time this morning, just setting the foreground to U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's visit to South Africa. Thanks for your time this morning.
My pleasure.